Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to take a look at the Mac Mini again. And if you don't remember this thing, we bought this, I thought it was a G4 Mac Mini and I had different plans for it, but it ended up being an Intel Mac Mini. And we ended up taking the CPU out of it and replacing it with a T90 700 something, I don't remember, quad core CPU. We upgraded the RAM to 8 gigabytes and we put an SSD hard drive into it. And it was still really slow, especially online, going to YouTube and stuff like that. Really just not usable in a, not even like an office setting, but really any kind of like media browsing sort of application. And that's what I wanted it for. I wanted it to be something small, really tiny footprint, low power consumption, stick it on the corner of the desk, and use it for YouTube, looking things up, something to play music or videos while I'm in here working and doing stuff. And it seemed like it was going to be a really good platform for that, but it gets way too hot in there, and I don't want it to burn up. So what I'm going to do with this is make a better Mac Mini that's not going to be a Mac Mini. What I'm going to do is, as you can see here, I got this Integer Computers Mini AQ5i case in the box, new in box, and I'm going to build a new mini computer, one that is hopefully very similar to this, but doesn't overheat and can run a modern OS, and I can watch YouTube and use it to burn, CDs and stuff. Really anything you would need sort of like to do quickly in my workshop here. So what I have been using in the meantime, because I haven't been able to use this, you probably saw it sitting back here. It was the Fujitsu point of sale system that we modded the BIOS on and put a GPU into. I think we put a GT730 in it. Well, it's big, it's in the way, and it hardly fit here underneath my TV. And I got a sound bar recently-ish, so I moved the system down here, and that's really inconvenient for plugging USB and stuff like that into and burning the CDs and whatnot. Today's experiment, or today's adventure, build a system similar in size to this and hopefully be much more capable and, of course, run cooler. So let's get into that. So the system we're going to use, in which we're going to build our better Mac Mini, is this thing here. And this is just kind of a ITX case. I don't even know, 21, I don't know the brand. But there's no place for a CD-ROM on here, and it's really large. It takes up even more room than the point of sale system. And it's bulky. So we're going to see if we can't shrink it down to something like this. What's in here is a i5-3570K, I believe, and a gigabyte ITX motherboard. I believe it has 8 gigs RAM on it. We're going to get rid of I think there's actually like a 1060 in here. Possibly a GTX 750 Ti. I don't know. We'll see when we get in there. And a hard drive of some description and stuff like that. It's not important. What is important is that we're going to stick it into that little case. So let's take a look at that case. As far as this case goes, we haven't opened it up yet, so we're going to do kind of an unboxing on here. And this was the smallest case that I could find that sort of fit all the description of this. Basically, I wanted it to be small, silver. I wanted a front-loading CD-ROM on it. I wanted to have a few USB on the front, but you take what you can get. Computer cases like this are kind of hard to find. So all of the I/O is, sorry Mac, all of the I/O is going to be back here, which isn't a big deal. It's on the back of this thing anyways, and that was going to be fine for me. So let's open it up. Let's see how this looks. All right, so like I said, this is a Integer Computers case, model AQ5i. So let's go ahead and cut this thing out of the box. Come on, buddy. This is kind of a, oh, there's tape. No, how did they get tape underneath there? This is a fancy little box for a company that I really just searched on eBay for ITX cases, micro ITX cases, and we found this thing. All right, what is this thing here? Probably, oh, power adapter. Awesome. This is actually awesome because they did not list this as coming with it. CD-ROM, faceplate, miscellaneous hardware. That is awesome right there. So let's pull this out. And this is no doubt going to be slightly larger than the Mac Mini. That's not that big a deal. There we go. So the aluminum color, it looked different on the ad, but that is not a big deal. So my first impressions with this is that, I mean, it feels nice. It feels pretty thick. It feels sturdy. But there's no feet on the bottom, which I can probably put feet on there, but I guess that's something I overlooked when I was looking at it online. As you can see, it's got plenty of ventilation, so hopefully overheating won't be the problem that this guy here had. As far as size goes, it is, I mean, noticeably larger than the Mac Mini, but it's not that much bigger. So I'm pretty happy with the size. And then it comes with your front I/O, but we're going to remove this and use the CD-ROM capabilities. There's a CD-ROM tray in here that we can put a mini, that you can put a like a laptop CD-ROM in here with. So we're going to take this front out of here, get rid of the USB, and install this CD-ROM bezel onto it. There we go. So now we can get a quick look. It does come with a power supply. It is a 120 watt power supply, I believe, which should be more than enough to run our i5 3570K. We're not going to be overclocking or anything like that. And we're going to be running an SSD in here. So this is going to be a fairly low powered system. There we go. There we go. Does that not come out as one thing? Do you have to unhook everything? No, you can just... There we go, there we go. So let's take our slot loading CD-ROM bezel. There we go. That went in nice. This is my only slot loading CD-ROM that I have. So I'm hoping it works. And this thing is going to fit in here. Like that. Beautiful. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't know if this drive is, I doubt this drive is like anything special, like a weird size or anything like that, or if it's like particular to only one system. I don't know. That's a bummer. I mean, I could always notch that little spot there so the screw can fit. But this is brand new. I shouldn't have to monkey around with it. Of course, I could always put like some double-sided tape or something down here to like keep this the right height. I could do a lot of things. Regardless, let's continue with our build. So I just want to pause this build here real quick and talk about this Y3000 limited edition Coca-Cola Zero Energy, Zero Sugar, creations, futuristic flavored, co-created with artificial intelligence. And quick review of this. It tastes like old watered down Coke in a like late 90s McDonald's wax paper cup. Yeah, it's not great. I award it a like a 6 out of 10, I guess. That's it. All right, now we got to get our donor board out. And there we go. Our, let's see here, Gigabyte GA H6 1N USB 3. So this next part, if it's difficult though, it's going to be kind of my fault. I don't have the original I/O plate to this motherboard. I just have this that I printed up. And I print them pretty thin and flexible, but sometimes they're just a hair too big to fit. I hope it does fit because I don't want to leave the I/O out of it. Okay. So, see that slot right there? The motherboard is supposed to fit into that slot. Without going into that slot, it won't fit. That's a weird design choice. However, they probably did that to shrink the size of this as far as they could. I'm guessing, I suppose, which is going to make this a juggling act because there's nothing that holds the I/O plate in place. I mean, this will be different for somebody who has an actual metal I/O plate that snaps in, but mine does not. You see the problem I'm running into right down here? Again, this might not be a problem you run into, or anybody else runs into if you have a normal I/O plate. But mine is pretty flexible. There we go. There we are. So, looking down inside of there, you can see these two metal supports or screw bosses go over the go over the motherboard. You know, there's a slight, like I said, that little cut. More so the one on the left there. You can see it almost reaches to that screw head there. Now here is something I'm a little worried about. Will this fit over the cooler? Oh yeah, there's a little bit of room to spare. Is there? What am I doing? Is that touching something? No, it doesn't. What's happening down there? Yeah, it looks like it touches right there. Anyways, I gotta get a smaller cooler. That's a bummer. So, like I said, In the next scene, I will have a new cooler for this. And just like that, instant for you, 3 days later for me, we have a low profile CPU cooler. Where is it? There it is. Only 37 millimeters in height. This should fit well, should perform nice. And unfortunately, the method in which you install our new shiny CPU cooler, it uses a bracket on the back, a back plate, so we gotta take the motherboard out. No big deal. Alrighty, let's see. We got the motherboard out of it. Time to open up our cooler and check it out. It's a Noctua NH-L9i. Not super exciting, but it should fit the bill nicely. So Noctuas are always really nice. Everything's packaged so, you know, just professionally and nicely. Then the Noctua thermal paste. We got hardware to screw the cooler down. We got what they call the low noise adapter. Basically just a resistor that goes between the fan and the motherboard. And the cooler itself. Noctua coolers are always really, they're just nice. They're just very, they feel like they're quality. They perform well. They're nice. They're pretty. I like them. Anything else in here? Under the box, maybe? Oh, some screws. So over-engineered. Is Noctua German? Might be German. Okay, I might be severely overlooking an easier way to do this. But I'm just gonna fake it till I make it, you know? There we go, good and snug. Flip her over. Fits nice. It's heavy too. We took that underneath there. I'm gonna mess around with it. All right, it took a little bit of putzing around with it, but I got that wire to run decently. I don't want it sticking up. I just wanted to kind of tuck away this kind of neat little build. And it's supposed to be elegant and fancy and very Mac-like. I think we achieved that. So I'm gonna chuck it back into here. I'll see you in a few minutes. So it's back in there. Everything is screwed down and tightened in. All right, I've been putzing around with this thing for a little while here. I've been trying to come up with an elegant solution to mounting the SSD that you can see right here. And well, as you can see, we didn't find an elegant solution. My first idea was I noticed these holes on this top plate here, and they line up perfectly with the holes that you would use to mount your SSD. And putting it in here, and there's just enough room as long as it misses the very edge of the motherboard down there. Basically, the height of this is about 1 or 2 millimeters too thick to allow this to sit down. It runs into the PCB board of the motherboard, which is sad because I thought it was really a great solution, but it wasn't. So I just kind of stuck it over here. Yeah, it is what it is. I imagine you're supposed to have a less powerful system in here, and I'm trying to cram. Not that a 3570K is powerful by today's standard, but I am trying to put in probably more than the designers of the case had ideally thought you would put in here, because all the advertisement and the webpage and everything for this case shows like an all-in-one integrated system, an ITX motherboard with a like Intel Atom processor or something on it. So we're asking a lot of what we're putting in this small form factor. So I am going to live with this because one day I imagine I'm going to get the itch and I'm going to replace all this guts in here with, you know, a newer system, and it's going to be more than likely have an onboard M.2 or NVMe drive. So this isn't permanent. It's just kind of like good enough. Let's clip this on here, and everything will be set up completely. All right, as is the going theme with this little build here, we are straying farther and farther away from elegance, but it still works. So like we said earlier, there's just that little hole, just not in the, this slot is not in the right place, or that hole is not in the right place, or this HP, or at least I think it's from an HP old DVD writer. It might not be standard, but it fits in here, and 2 of the 4 holes line up. So I have put some, can you see it right there, some foam in there, and then to keep it from going up too high, I put a sliver of cardboard in there, and now it's nice and perfect. And my main concern is just to move, you know, this side moving around when you're burning the CD or reading the CD. So oh, look at that. Look at that foam. It didn't even hit there. I'll be right back. All right, now we're in good shape. So let's try that again. Just stick your tongue out at the right angle. Get that to fit in there. I can feel it's like right there. Oh, there we go. Okay, hard drive's in there, wires are hooked up, this top cage is hooked up, the CD-ROM lines up beautifully. Let's put the top on there, let's put some feet on here, and let's test it out. So as far as the feet go, I think I'm going to try these because I don't want it sliding around on the table. You know, furniture sliders, which I usually use. These here. It might be too slidey on this table. Who knows? They're not permanent, so no big deal. There we go. Yeah, that's got pretty good grip. All right, let me clear this disaster area out, and I'm going to hook this thing up. All right, desk is cleaned up. We got our elegant, better Mac Mini hooked up. Let's go ahead and hit that power button. Those are all good noises. I don't know why it tried to eject. Now? Really? There we go. Just like the old one. Okay, so we are sitting at about 40 degrees idle. It's very quiet. But I imagine it would be with only one fan on the CPU. Alright, I'm going to run it through a few iterations, or a few rounds of Cinebench, and we'll see what that max temperature gets to. I'm going to guess in the 80s somewhere, because it is, like I said, very confined space. Alright, after 3 rounds, looks like we hit a max of 76 degrees on the package and hit a 500 for our score. When I had the 2120 in here, it hit a 274. So we have 90% better performance. So I was running Cinebench for, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. The temperature must have got really high because it shut itself off. So I'm going to see just how high it gets up here in the corner. Currently at max of 75, sitting at 72 right now on the package. That didn't seem too high. Weird. Okay, so it's just sitting here kind of doing nothing, and I'm watching the temperatures increase, which is a bit concerning. So the i5 3570K that's in there is a 77 watt TDP, and the cooler that's in there, that I don't believe it's rated that high. It should be adequate enough, so I'll have to keep an eye on it. So this thing might just sit here and run at like 60 degrees, which isn't ideal. I don't know if there's anything I can do with that besides get a lower wattage CPU. Anyways, the CD-ROM has showed up, and I want to make sure that that one works because that is the CD-ROM I got from the junkyard when I got that Alienware laptop. So let's pop a CD into it and see what it does. Already, before I pop that CD into there, I see something I don't kind of like. So the slot loading CD-ROM drive, there's no like felt or fuzz or anything in there. It's just kind of an open hole. Green light, bam, into the drive. So I guess I got to be careful loading and unloading CDs so we don't scratch them. Ooh. That makes some noise. Seems alright though. It's reading. There we go. So the CD-ROM works. That's cool. And it ejects just fine. So that's another plus. I'm going to let it sit idle and see if it won't cool off a bit. Because we're at 70 degrees, 60. Wow. I ran Cinebench R15 3 times. I got to a max of 75, but the whole system was cool when we did that. Now the case is kind of heat soaked. So I'm going to let it sit here and idle. And I'll be back. Alright, it's been idling at least 5 minutes. Settled in pretty steady at 55 to 57. So a little spike there to 58. Kind of sits at 56, 57 all the time. So, I mean, that's not bad for idling. Like I said, I'll have to keep an eye on it. It probably, when it's using the Intel graphics, you know, what is it, HD 4000, the temperatures can, you know, hit a spike and then it shuts itself off. So, or we might be taxing that 120 watt power supply that's in there. Probably that. Probably taxing the power supply. So it's sitting here in the package. You know, the CPU is drawing about 7 watts at idle. What happens when we run benchmark? Oh, we jumped to a max of 10. And we're only pulling 30 watts. Max of 42. This might not be super accurate. Anyways, I don't want it to do that again. I'm going to go in the BIOS and see if it's on like a very loose cooling plan. Okay, messing around with this thing and lowering vCore settings and changing B clock and stuff like that, undervolting, underclocking and stuff like that. Temperatures aren't really changing, and I decided to take a look inside, and I think I realized why. This can only exhaust air from the cooler out the back here, because I got the other side kind of up against the RAM. And if you look at the side, there's no exit for it. It's a solid plate. So I'm going to try turning this 90 degrees and see if that improves anything. The only thing that sucks about that is I got to take the motherboard and everything out of it. Be right back. So the pattern, contact pattern is not great. on this CPU. I imagine the cooler's fine, but the CPU's not great. That could be an issue too. Just finished turning this, clocking at 90 degrees, and I noticed we're hitting the release for the PCI Express slot, which for me this won't be a big deal because I'm not going to use the PCI Express slot. But if you have this cooler and you need to, for whatever reason, do this and use your PCI Express slot, it's not going to be completely held in place. But I mean, your screw on the PCI bracket kind of does that. Now hopefully air can pass out through here and through here, and hopefully at least shave a couple of degrees off of this. I reapplied the thermal paste and was extra careful when I put it all together. So hopefully I have a better application, better coverage. So let me throw it all back together. All right, so turning the CPU cooler sideways, keeping our underclock going, and I'm sorry if this is out of focus, it won't focus. So with our undervolt and our underclock, we haven't topped 30 watts on the package yet. Temperatures are still up there a little bit, it's 86 degrees, but we are well into our third iteration, or our third round of having benchmark. And it's running really stable and really nice. And I could probably do a little bit more undervolting, but I think it's pretty good right here, and I'll play with it later if I need to, but right now it's a good stopping point. Everything seems to be good. It's still warming up, but I mean it's nowhere near where it used to be, and we haven't had a restart yet, which is good. Okay, so I would say that this is a success. I think that this is going to be a much better box for me. Basically, it's just a media box for my TV here in the workroom. This is a much better box than the Mac Mini really could hope to be. I got a modern OS with Windows 10. Got 8 gigabytes of RAM in there. I could do 16 if I wanted to, but I don't think that's necessary. I got a SSD in there, much faster processor. I mean, it's just new hardware. Of course, it's going to be better than the Mac Mini, but it is in sort of a small form factor. It stays over there on the desk. I could hang it on the wall or stick it somewhere else if I wanted to. But this will be a nice little box for burning disks, transferring files, just having sort of a modern PC that still has a CD-ROM drive is very kind of useful. That was kind of fun. I wasn't expecting to have to buy a Noctua NHL91, which cost me like $44 shipped to my door. But it is what it is. It is a low profile thing, and none of the Intel coolers that I had on hand had any chance of fitting in there. So I enjoyed making this thing and kind of running into trials and tribulations and getting past them. Not in the most elegant ways. What can you do? Sometimes you're kind of stuck with what you got. So if you enjoyed it, I would appreciate a thumbs up and maybe a subscription if you're not already subscribed to the channel. So as always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.